you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.
We're not social distancing, guys. Everybody else is distant, so welcome to our show, Youth Conversations. Today we normally have other conversations. Today we're talking about youth, commemorating the youth 76 struggles, their remembrance.
So today is a special day indeed. I'm sure each and every one of us with this current year and everyone else around South Africa is actually quite happy that we
Can you raise your voice a bit? We can't hear you.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Better.
Okay, perfect. So as I was just saying, I'm sure everybody here is quite happy. Everybody in South Africa is quite happy with the freedom that we have today compared to how it was back then. And we would just like to take this day to commemorate that and see how we can actually be able to push forward the youth that we have today and improve society as a whole within our communities. So thank you very much to everyone for joining us today. And I'm sure your input will be much from our side and everywhere else from the people that will be watching. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys for joining us. My name is Mo.
I'm Pepo.
Welcome to our show. So we've got some influential people today, so we would like to also introduce everybody so that everyone knows who's everyone. So we'll start with Tanya, who Tanya is and what role Tanya plays.
Okay. Morning, everybody. My name is Tanya Oldjohn. I am a councillor in the city of Johannesburg, and I'm a PR councillor, and I represent the African National Congress in the city of Johannesburg.
Okay.
Lovely.
We move on to Reggie.
Morning, guys. I hope you can all hear me. So my name is Reggie Botha. I am a director of an organization called Meshup, which essentially runs the Westbury Youth Center. Ex-educator at Westbury Primary School, and pretty much, enshrined in that community development space. So I'm very honored to be part of this conversation this morning.
Thank you very much. Mateo?
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Mateo Dube, and I am an aspiring farmer, farming in the West Rand area in Tarleton.
Thank you. Then we have Mr. Keith Tabo.
Yeah, good day everyone. I'm Keith Tabo. I'm the Vice President of Black Business Council. I'm also the President of NAMEC and ICT Food Black Business Council. One of the commissions that were now called whether EMF level was the important activity and inherit only on advocacy and law. Black business in general, whether they are in the country or outside the country. I'm also going to be elected basically as of our tourism association secretary. That's the general manager.
Thank you. Willem? Can you hear us?
It seems Willem is having a bit of a sound issue. Willem, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Willem?
Okay. Okay, so Willem seems to be having a bit of a sound issue. Mo, just a quick brief on who Willem is.
Willem played soccer for Bafana Bafana, and he was also a coach for Platinum Stars at one stage. Yeah, he's the football gentleman, if I have to put it in that word. So we'll continue with the topics today. We have youth is a major role. So we got government here, we got the Black Business Council here, we got the community worker here, we got the football people here, we got the agricultural and farmer entrepreneur. So we'll start with governments, Tanya, ANC. When we look at government per se, sorry, what are youth development and opportunities within our communities?
Okay, so let me just say thank you for the opportunity afforded to me as a councillor in the city of Johannesburg, serving in term 2016 to 2021. But firstly, I would like to quote what Oliver Tambo said. The children of any nation are its future. A country, a movement, a person that does not value its youth and children does not deserve its future. So today I think the organization chose a very good and an important topic for the Youth Day conversation, with choosing your path and your future. Okay, so the topic is aimed at addressing young people and an attempt to assist engaging them to choose their path in their future.
Yeah.
Firstly, we need to understand that young people by their very nature are opposed to injustice, and hence they can easily organize protests and marches against any form of injustice that exists in the society. Young people naturally do not have patience. They want to see things happen and happen fast and to their advantage and success. Now, both those two things put together, it brings with it an element of energy and commitment that we can begin to draw strength from. We also know that young people have dreams and ambitions that they live up to and want to achieve. Young people constantly have role models around them at all times, whether they see them on TV or in the community or elsewhere around the world. All this put together stands out as a core instrument or tools that we can use to begin to prepare our young people towards a particular future in society. Having said that, I want to caution society today that every young person has dreams and they all want to achieve something in their future. We therefore have a responsibility to allow young people to explore their abilities and potential. What do I mean? My point is that we should allow them to prosper in any field that they have passion for and provide all the necessary support. Gone are the days wherein every child has to be forced to go through the matric as a way to proving their self-worthiness in society, when the child's career path may not even require any form of matric. With the current COVID-19, we have now realized that manufacturing is put an important or primary sector in the economy, which is very necessary that we channel a lot of our young people through it. Little did we ever realize the importance of the following items: sanitary, mask, and respiratory machines. We are a country that was never involved in the manufacturing of respiratory machines until now recently, and we need to focus on this new economic opportunity and invest in it and bring young people into it. What other new forms of economic opportunities does this COVID-19 present to our young people? How do we have, as a nation and a country, take advantage and make sure our youth can give and get involved in these numbers, I mean. Lastly, as the City of Johannesburg, we are advocating for what we call co-production. In simple terms, involving or sharing with communities in the economy of service delivery. What we're saying here is that we want you, people in El Dorado, Nuclear, Rivoli, etc., to take active part by creating your own cooperatives that are focused on road construction, that will deal with potholes and road resurfacing, and in the areas, and then that way they can then invoice the city. In that way, we bring communities in the economy of service delivery. In conclusion, the last aspect is that the future is the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
This requires that all young people should ensure that they acquire technological skills so that they can be kept relevant. In so doing, they will keep jobs in the near and far future as the world develops in the 4IR. There's a saying that say young people, they can't be anything about them. They can't be anything about them without them. They are the future. And I thank you.
So when we talk about 4IR, right, I know the Black Business Council is also in that conversations. Am I correct if I'm saying that, Keith?
Yeah, my view is that before we even begin to engage about 4IR, we should also get infrastructure that is every the country.
But we can't hear him.
Efficient costs like that. Even if you have to think about 4IR, we should think about manufacturing. What is it that is manufacturing? I believe government for the past 8 years has robbed the youth in their future. Corruption and white monopoly capital has fueled our youth. I travel the world and I meet the youth from Kenya and other countries that are doing business. Our youth, wherever you meet the
Yeah, I'm saying, to some degree, I don't want to leave much on 4IR because 4IR, the 4IR relates to compliance of infrastructure in the country. The issue of digital terrestrial television and digital migration in the country. The government has not taken it up because of corruption and related activities.
There's no audio. There's no, we can't hear.
Am I audible?
Am I audible now?
Am I okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah.
Yes, I was saying the youth should be ready for things like manufacturing and agriculture. We have engaged the competition commissioner that black products must be on the shelf of this multinational, of this retail shops, if you can pay Woolworths. So 20% should be a quota. In answering more on 4IR, I would wish to pause for now because it's a complicated subject which our country is not ready for.
Okay, we're gonna go to Willem. Can you hear us? On your laptop, there should be audio. So we're gonna go to agriculture. We talked about there's a bit of static going on about in the sound. Sorry about that. Can everybody hear us clearly?
Yeah.
Okay. Mateo, we're gonna go a bit into detail with you, like as a youth, when you were a youth, not a lot of people know, but you actually started to be a doctor, and you shifted from there to brand management, and from there you being shifting into and being an aspire and agriculture actually. Yeah. So what was the mindset in shifting?
Sure. That's a very good question, Mo. I'd say, like you said, right? Yeah. When I finished off my matric, I went to study medicine, right? And during my year of studying, one will realize that, okay, there are some career choices that are chosen for you, and there are some career choices that you want to follow. Okay. And along the way, I realized that actually where I'm comfortable with. I am more comfortable with working with people, but then more on the developmental side. You understand? Not healing or curing people. So that's where I then shifted. The mindset shifted and studied research psychology. That's where I got exposed to the likes of consumers, the likes of people, how they react towards certain brands, and how people develop to love a brand. And from there, that's again, through in the same space, I met people that walked a similar route. You know, the same youth that walked the same route, whereby they started somewhere and they were like, no, but then that's not my kind of, my line of work. I mean, I am more happier in the field or working with people. So my mentor then, Eric Mawane, who was also a researcher, you know, when he came to me and told me, actually, I've moved into farming. And I was like, I actually want to do this, you know, and I want to explore the farming route. And from there, we were like, okay, cool. Let's meet on weekends and see what we can do. So from weekends, whilst I was like a full-time employee, to now where I decided I want to go into farming big time, because it's that production manufacturing space that I'm in, and also working towards like feeding the nation, because with agriculture we're doing fresh produce, and our main aim is literally that, to be able to feed the nation. So in terms of the mindset, I would say it wasn't really a change of mindset. It's just following what you as a youth would want to do, you know, what you want to achieve. Sometimes you grow up in a household where you are being told, oh, you're so good at maths and all of that. Why don't you become a doctor? Or you're so good with mathematics. Why don't you become a accountant and all of that? Whilst you realize that it's the same kind of disciplines that you can use in a field of work that you like. Because, I mean, if you come to the farm, it's the same kind of physics, it's the same kind of healing of the plants and all of that that you apply, you know. So I would say in terms of the mindset, it's basically that where you realize that, yeah, when someone says heal, it doesn't literally mean you're gonna heal people, but then it can be plants, it can be animals, it can be anything that you put your mind into, anything that you are comfortable with. So yeah, I think I would like to say I didn't change my mindset. It's just that I got into a space that I'm comfortable with and where I know I can easily grow and yeah, feed the nation.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Reggie?
I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So, Reggie, adding on what Mateo was saying in terms of youth development, currently you have all sorts of programs which you are running, and agriculture, I believe, is actually one of the programs that you are currently running. In terms of what you guys at the youth center do, how do they help and benefit the community at large?
Thank you, Tepo. I think that's a very good question. Maybe also just to reflect on what Mateo said as well as Tanya. I think they've kind of captured, you know, the psyche of the youth really good. So I'm not going to go into, you know, into that conversation because I think it's been covered. What we really do, and I think that is what I want to maybe quickly focus on is, you know, I think firstly we have to acknowledge that the youth that we get on our programs have a lot of developmental gaps in their development, right? They finished matric, and it doesn't quite mean that they are ready for the big world. And I think that is where we step in. So first of all, we then look at a very intensive life skills or essential skills program to look at how do we then fill the gap between, you know, finishing school, coming from homes that are not always, you know, the best places to learn. Some of us grow up with our dads, some of us grow up with our mums, some of us grow up with a very strong influence of peers, and we kind of lost, right? So the youth center then fills that gap to look at, guys, what is kind of the right thing to do? How do you behave when you go for an interview, etc., etc., etc. So essentially, what we're trying to do, and we're very proud of this, as we're looking at reprogramming their minds. It's not that they're coming empty to the youth center, but I think we need to look at reprogramming them into the right direction. In the process, we help them then to realize their full potential. Tanya mentioned that as well. That potential is something that's within us, and we assist them to realize that. And as well as for them to discover their purpose. Sometimes 12 years in school is not enough for them to walk out to say, listen, this is what I want to do in life. So we help them in that uncertain kind of space in their life and push them towards the things that, you know, will push them to their purpose. And I think lastly, before I talk about the programs, if they have time, we then help them, guys. And I think this is where the challenge comes, right? We then help them to look at what economic opportunities are there in the community, outside in the community, in the city, etc., etc. We also push them towards the tertiary education, the ones that want to study further. Entrepreneurial development is also very key. So we really look at trying to include them into the broader economy of South Africa. I'm not sure if you want me to elaborate more, but essentially what we're trying to do is we're getting youth that are confused, that are uncertain, and we assist them, to make sense of this uncertainty.
Yeah. Okay. So, Keith, just to come back to you, you currently say that you are working with youth as well, correct?
Yeah, let me answer with one of the youth. But remember, we are working around all sectors.
Yeah.
Into production. So all the youth formations should find their space within various. Suffice to say, we need to look at the economic structure of this country. I'm encouraged by youth who go into agriculture because 60% of GDP is consumption, which is largely food. Once the youth can find their space in that food production, that's where we need to go. But I see there are a lot of agencies that are giving grants like Lottery or Arts Council. They are inviting youth to apply for those grants, particularly in agriculture. I was with the CEO of Lottery here at Keep Lifestyle on last Monday. And I also raised the issue of food production among youth, but we don't see them coming. We also try to bring professionals with masters in business strategy to come. Business plans for them, but a handful of them come, particularly around colored communities. And I know I've been engaging with the Premier for some time that there's a set aside money for colored communities, but we don't see those business plans being submitted in the Premier's office or the economic development. So it's a worrisome kind of how do you bring professionals and leaders in local communities to begin to help the youth, take them by their hands, so that they engage more into meaningful business activities that generate income on a sustainable model. That's what we are doing in Keep. But we still want to work with more. As I'm speaking to you, there are people, there are professionals working around the clock to put business plans. We just tailor-make them to suit your situatedness. But like I'm going to pause again, the issue of youth empowerment is very key. And the issue of monopoly needs to be addressed. Corruption is very key in all municipalities in this country, in government departments. It needs to be looked at. Long as there's still corruption, and also the issue of influx of foreigners taking sponsor shops and giving our people rotten food. Those are things that policymakers, whether in the city, whether in the province, they are the ones that got powers. I mean, to make bylaws or policies. We want to see our youth owning shops. We grew up our fathers, mothers owning shops and sponsor shop and family homes. We want to go back to those dynamics without sounding xenophobic as people might want to criticize the plight of black youth. I would wish to pause for that.
Thank you very much for that. Tanya? Tanya, can you ask?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, lovely. So, Tanya, in terms of what Keith is speaking about, and also.
It's a bad echo.
Okay, let me just switch it out. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. So in terms of what Keith is speaking about, and the programs which Mashup is running, what kind of programs or community work are actually coming through from your environment side on community work or your job side in terms of community work?
Look, in the past, as COJ, City of Johannesburg, we had a program called Josie at Work.
Okay.
So as a city, we are trying to bring that back so that we can get more people to do their own little thing. But what we are emphasizing as the City of Joburg is to get youth to do cooperatives. I heard, and I couldn't hear the other gentleman too clearly, but I think he said we must go back to bringing people together and getting shops and things.
Yes.
I want to speak on, you know, when we say, I want to take it to maybe just say Woolworths for instance. That is not one person that started it. There's lots of small little groups that has started that and put money together. So where I want to come in is to say to our youth, those are things, Somalians, for instance, they put all their money together and they do these things and have so many shops in our own communities. So why is it that our youth cannot do things like this? Why is it that we cannot come together and say, let's do cooperatives? I know we have been speaking about cooperatives, I think even way before 2016, we spoke about cooperatives. But why is it that we cannot get it right to work together and say, let's put even in your agriculture, I know that the city before 2016, before my term, we had small farms in Walkerville, in those areas that they did for cooperatives. Bring back those things, and we should advocate, and we are advocating for these things to come back so that we can have our own economy in our own societies. That is what is needed for our youth. If I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much on that. That was what we were looking at.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, that was actually going to come to our next question, you know, but you actually answered that in how to actually curb poverty, you know, achieving success as a youth in entrepreneurial work, and you've actually answered that question on your answer from that previous one. Yeah. Thank you very much on that.
Okay, let me ask. In terms, because of Reggie and Tanya, you guys personally mostly deal with community work. Perhaps in the future, could there be a possibility of collaboration, perhaps? Let me start with you, Reggie.
Very good question, Tsepo. I don't think we can win the battle against all the social ills in our community if we're not collaborating. So I'm very pleased to meet Tanya. I'm very excited. I listened very carefully to the introduction. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation about how we can move our communities forward, after this engagement. So yes, definitely, we are very keen.
Lovely then. And Tanya, from your side, perhaps any chance of collaboration?
Most definitely, yes. Look, we can't be an island. We need each other to make it work. So yes, we will definitely get together. We need to speak after this, Reggie. So that we can, and speedily, because there's a need. I know COVID is here, but like we're doing, this is the new norm. So even if it means we do it this way, we need to get together. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you, from government, what is there to motivate or like incentivize the youth?
Look, the government has just also, with the new, we have just come back. Let me just also just say this. We have just taken over the City of Johannesburg at the beginning of December, late November last year. So what the Speaker has also started doing now is She's got a youth council where she's got students that are part of a council that are also giving us, telling us what their needs are. And that is very important. So what is the path and what is their future? It's all about that for them to be sure, look, they've also got a say in these, and it starts from high school, not just being at tertiary. But this is what one of the things that we has now started. There's leadership things that is also being done in the city. What we've also done is we have, if you have kids that has left school and that is not sure what their path is, our HR department in the city of Johannesburg are giving youth the opportunity to come and do, what do you call these things, to come and see if this is what they want to do, practicals in the HR department. So yes, look, we are there, we are the public servants. So whatever the youth need, we need them, they need us. If anything, whatever we can do for them to ensure that they have a path that they are sure of what they wanting to do, we are there to assist.
So I'll actually direct that, it's all about positivity. I know BBC works a lot with youth as well as NEMIC. Keith, what are...
Can't hear you. You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
I believe in science. I believe in facts. I believe in practicality. Given the status quo, I think COVID-19 is beginning to give us a new lease of life in terms of correcting the wrongs that the world has done to everyone, particularly the black population globally. But given the South African context, it is more alarming and more urgent that the youth must find their rightful place within the economic landscape. But much as we want to motivate the youth, we should not provide barriers in terms of policies that makes their business not sustainable. I would argue with anyone that if I were to go to Nigeria or China and open a spar shop and compete with the Chinese there or Nigerians there, I'll be locked up the next day. I do business in Africa. And then why is it so easy for any foreigner to give me a passport to sell liquor, to sell spars and compete with our own? It's government that must protect their own. These youth who are producing, who are running business, must be protected by their own government. There's no way more than 80% of applicants for businesses around Joburg are foreigners. I grew up in Johannesburg. I was selling. I was a breadwinner. With that money, I took myself to university. I was a hawker in Book Street. So I was selling different things. So that space is closed for youth. I used to work also at restaurants on weekends as a youth. All those restaurants, hospitality, only taking foreigners as waiters. And yet we must be quiet, and the ministers can't pronounce, Minister of Labor cannot pronounce on those. I mean, our youth, they can't breathe. Our youth can't breathe. They are suffocated by the old government policies. So I had a meeting with the mayor, and then I think I'll still come back and say, this is a policy direction that needs to be taken. Empower your own, prioritize your own. I mean, charity is at home. You can't say our youth must compete with Pakistanis or Nigerians or whatever. It can't be. So I've traveled the world and I've never seen such influx. You can go to South Korea anywhere, you'll never see the madness that we see in this country. So issue of foreigners must be dealt with. Have this rhetoric of xenophobia. Let us face facts. Those are economic dynamics. So I'm not going to back down on that. Our youth need our protection and our support. That's
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Now, Mateo, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mateo?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Now, Mateo, in terms of what you are doing in agriculture, currently, are there any programs that you are working on for youth development or community development?
Okay, in agriculture, not necessarily myself, but then in terms of youth, what we've seen is that since like I've gone full into agriculture, there's been more and more youth that have been interested, and there's more youth that have been coming to me or my partner for asking for assistance. So we have a lady there who comes like 3 times a week. She drives from what's this, in the northwest, Klerksdorp, from Klerksdorp, and coming to Tarleton every week just to shadow with the workers and all that. And we've seen with the WhatsApp groups that we have, there's more youth that's been engaging in the agricultural space. So yeah, from my side, I'm like, even if I go into the Twitters and all that, I'm seeing youth and female farmers coming out and saying, I'm young and I'm a farmer. I have like 600 cattle. I have 400 hectares of maize and all that. So yeah, in terms of programs that we're running at our farms, no, but then there's been some of the young generation coming through and saying we want to shadow, and we will shadow them, and then they will find their feet and yeah, start their own 1 hectare to 50 hectares of fresh produce. So yeah, I think from my side, that was one thing that was like encouraging, that you see that there is more of the younger generation coming up and saying they want to go into farming, and they introducing technology into farming, like your aquaponics and hydroponics and the likes.
That is actually quite a beautiful thing. Also, just to also add Reggie into this, Reggie, you also do have currently an agriculture program that you are running at the youth center, correct?
Yeah, that is correct, Tsepo. Look, it's not as big as you know, as Mateo's farming, but our strategy is very simple. You know, the city dwellers and land is a very interesting. There's a very interesting relationship there, you know, between the guys in the townships and land. So we've got a beautiful garden space. Tanya earlier mentioned the issue of co-ops. There are actually 2 co-ops operating on you know, on our space, farming, you know, in their small little ways. But the idea is to expose as many young people as possible to agriculture for 2 reasons. One, to offer them, you know, an alternative, an entrepreneurial journey for that matter. But also, you know, once we get them under our wings, we can then, for lack of a better word, reprogram their minds, because there's a lot of things that young people are dealing with. So on their journey of discovering, you know, the land and falling in love with the soil and so forth, we have to almost cleanse them, you know. So I'm finding this conversation with Mateo extremely interesting, and I've got some ideas running through my head as we speak, you know, of how we can collaborate, between developing, the minds of young people, but also introducing them to agriculture as an entrepreneurial, outcome.
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Yeah. So Tanya, we're coming to you now.
Can I just say something on that?
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Can I just say something on what Reggie just mentioned now? We are also encouraging, now that we're in the COVID-19 space, that we are encouraging people to do gardening, even if it's in the flats. You can use tires, you can do it on because now we really need to get people to do their own planting. If it's tomatoes, if it's whatever, that is where we should start, is doing our own planting in our own backyards. And then also take the opportunity then to do the co-ops and sell it to SPAR or whoever. But that is the opportunity where we can start doing cooperatives as well.
Yeah. So Tanya, another one, you actually touched on some advice, but what other advice can you actually give our youth? The youth fought for change and they got certain change, but what other advice can you give our youth of today to fight change, to empower themselves, to venture into entrepreneurship, into agriculture, or anything else that you can?
I think earlier when I started, I spoke about manufacturing, and that is a space that we must really tap into. And the youngsters, especially the youngsters, because it's there now, it's open. President speaks about manufacturing opportunities. So our youngsters need to tap into that space of manufacturing, but also I have a passion for this co-op thing, man, and it can work if we really put our minds together and make it work. Because, sorry?
Yeah, no, definitely. We're agreeing with you.
Yeah. So there is too many kids out there that is just lazing around with qualifications, with degrees, but they're not doing anything. They can't do anything because the workplace, there's not enough jobs for all of the youth. So there's more youth than jobs, and those are things that we need to look at and then start saying to our youth. And I agree with Keith as well, saying, but I just want to disagree with him, saying foreigners. We must maybe rephrase and say the undocumented foreigners. The undocumented foreigners. That is the one.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So, yes, there is, and it's a competition out there. And the youth must be able to stand strong and say, look, let's come together and make this happen. But there's endless opportunities as well. I think that we need to explore on a wider thingy, because we are too, before we said if you're not a teacher or you work in the bank or something like that, that is what we need to be. But nowadays with our youth, there's so much more that we can look at. And we need to assist them now more than ever to say, let's go into these things and explore and see what other avenues is there that we can go into. There's also learnership. And I think one of the things that we must do as communities is ensure that we have training centers in our communities, because I think there's a lack of that as well in our communities. Because we need to have carpentries, however you say it, and those type of jobs that is there that the youth need to look into and in doing into the communities.
Yeah, we thank you guys for your time. Thank you for having here. We were actually looking at venturing with our next show, which will probably be at the end of June, mid-July, where we're going to actually touch on youth in business. And I think it's an important part of the community, basically growing the community, curbing poverty. And that is why we want to introduce different type of business opportunities for these guys, for this youth. And thank you for touching on certain things that we can touch on as an youth in entrepreneurship. And thank you very much for your time and everybody's time. I'll tell you a quick one, actually, advice for somebody like you went from business, from working for someone to having your own farming. What advice could you give a person or a youth out there that is actually struggling with himself, fighting with himself, basically?
Wow. So, okay, the kind of advice for someone who's out there and like planning to take on entrepreneurship or business full time is that, you know, the one thing that you need to have is we'll call it a dream, we'll call it a plan, we'll call it there has to be a plan in place, you know, to know where you're going and how you're gonna get there. Because the one thing that I would say when I left corporate, that was the one thing that I told my boss then, it's like, I'm going into farming. And this is how I'm gonna go about it, you know, because even my managing director came and asked me like why and how and all of that, and I had those plans in place. And when my last day at work versus my first day at my own business, the transition was smooth. I mean, I got even busier than when I was working for someone else, because I mean, you'll try to call me and not get hold of me as much as before. And it's all about, yeah, having the plan in place. I mean, I wouldn't say capital is the main thing. When you have a dream, when you have that passion for something, there is. I mean, the day before I even finished work, you know, it's meeting a stranger and telling them I'm going to farming, and they were like, oh, can I come and join you? And that's how things came about, you know? So and he told me straight up, like, the reason why I'm coming here is that you're passionate about it and all of that. So it's the passion that drives everything. And like, to add to Tanya's comment, I mean, I love the way she's so passionate about cooperatives, because that's what got farming to where it is. We call it cooperacies, wherever. Like, you go to any older farmer who does maize and all that, they'll tell you, yeah, they'll take the maize to the silos at a cooperacy. That's how you, in farming, the only thing that makes farming successful is selling in volumes. And if you can't do volumes, but then 10 of you guys can be able to do volumes, that's where now you start selling. Because when you start selling in farming, they won't, like, you come in and approach a Pick n Pay or any retailer with a 1 hectare, they will look at you as like, but then that's like a day supply of product. But then if you come and it's like 100 of you guys and you go like, okay, we got 50, like 5,000 hectares of this product and it's a mixed vegetable, then they start taking you seriously, because now they know that there won't be a week in a year where you won't be able to supply things. So yeah, cooperatives are very important, and yeah, we just need to have that passion for anything that you want to do as a youth and push.
Unmute yourself.
Now, Reggie, as a person who deals a lot with the community and the youth itself, especially in areas of Westbury, Newlands, Nuclear, what advice would you be able to give someone that is trying to uplift and push themselves with probably a program or any type of mentorship advice that you might have for someone?
Look, I think Moteo kind of summed it up quite nicely. I would just use the word intent, right? I think with the young people, there's this belief that, you know, we've got so much time to do everything, right? Things will work out eventually. I think we need to get to a point where we have a plan, right? And a plan don't only start when you finish matric. A plan is something that continues after matric, right? It cannot all of a sudden you can start thinking about what you want to do with your life. So I think it's all about intent. We need to go back. We need to start pushing our young people to make decisions of their lives, you know, when they are younger, and not wait for things to happen and then they become reactionary about things. And I think that is why we always fall short. Like now it's, you know, South Africa is on a manufacturing path. You know, now everybody all of a sudden wants to start manufacturing. We haven't, what's the word, inculcated the love for manufacturing, the skills for people to do these kind of things. And it's almost like such a tall order now, you know, for everybody that wants to jump in. And who will jump in will become winners. And the guys that are winners are the ones that has always either been in it or it's got the capital and know-how. So I believe we have to go back, really go back to the basics. And I know it sounds cliche, but if we want to fix this country of ours, we need to go back. And we need to start planning with our youth. Yes, we need to start planning and stop planning for them. So that will be my keyword. Start planning with the youth instead of planning for them. And I think we're moving to a positive direction.
Okay, perfect. Now, Keith, on your side, are there possibly any last words you'd like to add?
Any last words? Me? Yeah. I think youth must learn to be patient. But more important, in business, you must get a mentor. They will mentor you through all the process from financial management, discipline, and honesty. What I see the missing link amongst the youth today is honesty. They want shortcuts to business. And they are preoccupied with material things like buying fast cars and all that. You don't build a business through loans. Try not to take bonds. Make money and buy a house cash. Try not to take, car installments. Those things don't work. Make money and buy car cash. Simple economics. So I've said to most youth who started small business, and when they start saving money, they want to move in something, buy big property. Now make your own 5, 10, 15 million and go into the bank and say, buy this house cash. That's how it should be. Same with cars. This youth now, you want to impress with all these cars because it does not going to work because the interest and the loan will catch up with you in the short term. But my experience that as a businessman, I failed twice, horribly so. And at some stage I was using a trade. But it's a lesson that sometimes I leave the youth to fail twice. Maybe they learn because when you tell them, they don't listen. But honesty, they must learn to be honest. Don't be coerced into this corruption by government officials or politicians that do this and do this. Those things don't work. These tenders with bags don't work. You can see the city of Joburg now, City Power and Johannesburg Water. It's run by corrupt people who are, corrupted everyone. So don't go there. Try to play particularly in the private sector. Do not make your government your business. 80% of your business is the private sector. If you are lucky, 10% should be government. Don't rely on government business. You will never sustain your business. I think that's my end story. But for the youth one agriculture, I'm passionate about agriculture because we also have a partnership with Agricultural Research Council and CSIR. There are so many technologies that need to be commercialized at that level. And I also want to say the issue of urban agriculture, rooftop agriculture, backyard agriculture, China is very key for food security, but it could be consolidated into cooperatives or commercial. I think I'm impressed by all of you colleagues. The future is bright with the kind of attitude that it displays. And thank you.
Thank you to everyone for joining us. I believe everyone who watches and listens to the message that we have been putting through today will be able to take something valuable from it. And hopefully, this will not be the end of it. I'm really hoping that all of us will be able to move on forward. We'll be able to join hands and push out something which will benefit us as entire communities, as an entire country, so that we can become global and push ourselves, push our children, push our community and everything. Yeah. I thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.